good support system. That's how I get anything done.
That's all of us if we don't rely on the others. You know, I mean...
No, just can't. Can't get anything done.
Nope. Hey, did you happen to notice there was like a severe lack of like tents and sleeping bags given out this year?
So one of the groups that was doing that was getting hassled a lot, I know.
Because, I mean, the people we were, talking to, I mean, in our area and then up by the library, were mentioning it. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
The one on Las Vegas Boulevard?
Yeah.
We've given out quite a few down on G Street.
All right. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to ACAB Radio. This is episode 36, I believe. I'm your host, Lyfer, King Ron, and we got a special guest for you guys today. Katie is here. She's a local activist out here in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I remember first meeting you in person. It was at that coffee with the cops, and you were just as concerned as we were with, them policing our communities and what they do.
Yeah, the event at the Venetian had just recently happened, and I was worried about that, and I'd read some articles about it, and that poor man had been tased like 7 times. And the rules say no more than 3, and that's the maximum in an emergency. That's someone on like PCP or something that they can't take down.
Yeah.
And this man was not. And they tased him 7 times, and then he laid there for 5 minutes dead in the gutter.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
I try to see the good in everyone, and but you can't defend anyone in a situation like that.
Yeah, we were there to try and confront them about that as well.
That was Tashi, Farmer Brown.
Yes.
What was the gentleman's name?
And
On Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day of all days, yeah. And of course, the officer went before a grand jury, and all charges were dropped.
I know.
Yeah, that was
Horrifying.
Horrifying for sure. So yeah, we went to coffee with the cops to try to ask them some difficult questions, and they wouldn't even entertain us about that. We were able to talk to them about homeless issues, but when it came to anything about police brutality or recent cases of basically metro murder, they said we need to contact the public information office and schedule with them, which they've always ignored us. But it was disappointing.
I was able to talk to someone that day. I have a pretty healthy relationship with the police department here. I hosted a peace rally a couple years ago at a mosque locally, and we had to sit down and talk and make plans for it, and they were really supportive about that. So I had talked to them previously, and so they kind of knew me, and I think probably just part of my privilege is that I'm this small white woman. People are less afraid of me, and so I did talk to them about it a little, but I didn't really get any answers. The goal was that they were supposed to change the policy about tasers. In addition to that, the officer Lopera, I believe was his name.
Yep.
He used like an illegal hold, not wrestling.
But the chokehold, the rear naked chokehold?
Rear naked choke, yeah.
Which they determined wasn't that
that wasn't the cause of death, yeah.
Right.
But it was still an illegal chokehold.
Yes.
And Tashi Farmer Brown did pass away.
He did pass away.
So.
And it mostly concerned me because, having a history of mental illness myself in my family, and I have a son who's on the autism spectrum. So with special needs, there's always a concern that your child or yourself or someone you love are going to be misunderstood.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take much. And of course, you see these terrifying videos on Facebook of an autistic person getting roughed up because they're nonverbal or non-communicative at the least. They can't communicate their needs to just anyone.
Well, what's scary also is that they are they have the crisis intervention team, which every officer has to go through to identify these types of situations.
Yeah, special training that they're supposed to receive, yeah.
And I haven't seen it work out well, or these officers that are involved in these horrific incidents use that training. I mean, they tase and shoot and beat. I'm not sure
In
where that
California,
training.
they're actually, I just heard a news story that they're starting to phase out pepper spray use on juvenile suspects because it's gotten so common. And
Especially in schools, yeah.
even if they don't actually use the pepper spray, they rattle the can or they threaten them with it just at the beginning, and that's horrible.
The children, yeah, when you're dealing with children,
I mean, their
in this
brains
re-
aren't fully developed. You can't expect them to respond properly to everything.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they shouldn't be held responsible for anything, but how do you, unless they're...
some of these children are very, very young. I mean, we're talking, 8 years old, 6 years old.
It's horrifying.
These are children, and these are adults dealing with them. I've always been against having any sort of police presence in school. When you do that, then everything becomes criminalized.
Sure.
And their responses are responses of police officers and not teachers and principals, and it doesn't follow that kind of nonviolent way of dealing with issues. And it's scary.
And it creates like the school to prison pipeline, because altercations that teachers had dealt with for decades, police are now dealing with, and then they end up with a case in juvenile court, and then they're in the system, and we all know how that goes.
And it's so common among special needs students as well that they're having to develop separate committees and groups to deal with the amount of autistic people in the system. I mean, how are we meeting their needs if they're going from school to jail?
Right.
And these aren't criminals. These aren't hardened criminals. These aren't people who are mugging someone or doing anything like that. They're misunderstood in a lot of cases, as I think most children are.
I mean, some of the behavior is just not complying with the teacher's command, such as, sitting down or being quiet. And when the teachers are not intervening and they have police authority coming in and intervening, police are going to do what police do. And, I have so many issues with the school system. With all the things going on, there should be some sort of conflict resolution classes going on also to help alleviate a lot of the things that happen in school that we're not happy with.
Yeah.
And they don't provide that type of service, psychiatric services. The teachers aren't catching it the way they should be, and they don't have the resources. Even if they do notice something, there's not money in the system to, help these students.
Well, and it doesn't help the teacher necessarily. Well, teachers aren't allowed to diagnose students. That is
Right.
currently, and of course they're not doctors, so they shouldn't be able to, but they're not even allowed to imply to a parent that there is a condition or that their child needs intervention outside of the school system. And that's a problem. I've gone to a lot of IEP meetings and dealt with a lot of special ed facilitators, and most of them are well-intentioned, but they're overburdened. They're overworked, and they're not always dealing with parents that are involved either, unfortunately. That's one thing that is, as the parent of a child with autism, it's so aggravating when people are like, well, he was given to you because you're a special parent. I'm absolutely not a special parent. I'm the same parent as everyone else. I have a wonderful child, and I love him unconditionally. Unfortunately, that's not every special needs student has that support system at home.
That's true.
So they're not getting it at home, they're not getting it at school, they're not getting it from the community. And then we're surprised when they are misunderstood and end up in jail. Without actually having committed a crime.
Right.
That's the thing, by all means, if they're, mugging people or robbing people, that's one thing. But if they're just being non-compliant,
Yeah.
This
then
is, I
that's a
mean, we
different
watched
issue.
the video, and like I said here, with the CERT team, I mean, the police are aware of these issues. They've been trained. Every single officer has to be certified, and this is what I've been told, because that's one of the questions I ask when I do Coffee with the Cops. I always love bringing this up, because we see sort of like an escalation now of police behavior against juveniles and young folks.
Just this week, there was a 11-year-old that was arrested for not standing for the
kneeling.
Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And it was a substitute teacher who was fired, so they have that credit for them. But how does a cop even get involved in that?
Yeah.
Gets called into the classroom. How
That's
does
the
he,
thing, yeah.
How does, this
wonder.
isn't like a rational thought process. This isn't, I should definitely arrest that 11-year-old child for not listening to his substitute teacher. We would all be arrested
Right.
for not having listened to a substitute teacher when we were 11 years old.
Oh my God.
We'd all be in jail.
Yeah, that's the problem when you put police in schools. They're going to be the ones dealing with these non-incidents, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I mean, if somebody doesn't want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, you just say the Pledge of Allegiance and let him sit in his chair,
I mean, that was determined by the Supreme Court that students don't have to.
Yeah,
And,
you're still...
the police aren't always informed of the laws, and they don't know.
Absolutely.
Second of all, I mean, the police do have the discretion of behavior. They can choose to decide, if this is something that they should be involved in or not. They're not at the beck and call of, the teacher says do this, and they rush and do it. If it's something that doesn't make sense, then it's, up to the individual to be like, wait a minute, this is not proper.
Well, and it's such a bizarre scenario, because I know cops that would be like, and what do you want me to do with this 11-year-old who won't stand? They have 11-year-olds at home that don't listen to them, but it's such a bizarre situation. Just one adult making a bad decision leading to another adult making a bad decision, and then there's an 11-year-old kid getting arrested.
Yeah. This week I also read another story. It wasn't in a school, but it was an 11-year-old again, selling hot chocolate, and he didn't have the proper permit or whatever. The neighbors called the cops on him. Cops showed up. Yeah, it's just...
What kind of neighbors call the cops on a kid selling hot chocolate?
Man, seriously.
I had to pay it's $15 to get a permit to collect sales taxes in Nevada. And there's something that just really offends me about having to pay $15 to collect sales taxes for the state of Nevada.
It's like they should be paying you because you are going to be collecting taxes for them, but they want you to pay them to collect taxes for them.
To collect taxes
It's
for
just
them,
crazy.
which I don't particularly enjoy in the first place. So I'm not sure why I'm paying for the privilege.
Yeah, craziness. So I do want to get into some of the great work that you've been doing. I have a clip. You actually were on the news recently.
I was.
Track that down. I got it here. Let me play this for them real quick.
New at 11, 3 tons of clean diapers headed to local families in need.
All because of a simple mission to help our community and our most vulnerable. Our Heather Mills joins us more with this diaper drive and why the need is so great.
Oh, Marie, you know this. Gym diapers can cost about $70 to $80 a month. A child can go through 3,000 diapers in their first year, unaffordable to many in our community.
Babies need diapers just as much as they need food.
A basic need, but for some, unattainable.
I know that Catholic Charities passes out about 10,000 diapers a month if they have the supply.
The Women's Guild of Our Lady of Las Vegas is working to make sure they do.
It's going to help so many different families out there.
Corrine Pierce is pregnant with her first. She says she's learning as she goes.
When I first heard about the fact that there was the need for diapers en masse, it was shocking to hear all of the stories. 1 in 3 mothers in the United States doesn't have enough diapers for her children. She does not have an adequate supply of clean, dry diapers. That's 5.2 million American babies. In a first world country, there's no excuse for that.
8 years running and outdoing their goal each year.
Everyone here is asking their neighbors to donate and asking their coworkers to donate and asking strangers to donate.
This year, more than 68,000 diapers, enough to help Las Vegans in need for 6 months. Catholic Charities is just one of several places in town that offer free diapers to WIC and SNAP moms. Katie Murphy-Krikorian, who organized this event, says it's simple.
We eliminate this need in Southern Nevada because we can. It's well within reach.
So, of course, they've done an amazing thing, but the need is still great here in our community. So if you'd like to donate, this particular drive is over, but Catholic Charities will take them, other nonprofits in town, and we have all that information on our website. So hopefully people step up and answer that call.
Diapers, I know, they go year round. The need is there.
Yeah,
So
for many years.
I love it. They saw a need and said, we'll just solve this
They
one.
did it, yeah.
All right, thank
Yeah, so that was amazing. Just seeing the pictures of wall, floor to ceiling of diapers. They said something like 60-something thousand, but it was more than that. It was like
Yeah, by the time we were done, because we got some last-minute cash donations and purchased diapers with those, obviously, it was 75,000 diapers.
That's an awful
That's
lot
amazing.
of diapers.
And you're saying that's still not enough. That
Oh, absolutely not. That's
for a year's
about
supply?
7 months worth at Catholic Charities alone. I actually called 211 this morning because I was curious who they directed me to for diapers. 211 is a local service, and if you have a need of something, if you're out of food or whatever, you can call them and they'll direct you to a pantry or a group that can help. So I called and I said, I need diapers. Who do I go to? And they didn't even list Catholic Charities. They gave me 2 completely different places.
well, that I mean, that is good that at least there's 2 other that I didn't know about.
If you look it up, there's 7 listed, but there's some complications with each of them. Some of them, it's a one-time newborn package that happens to come with diapers.
Okay.
Some of them you can pick up, a pack a month for the first year, like Help of Southern Nevada.
And that's not quite adequate.
No,
Yeah,
they
boy.
provide for the Diaper Bank of Las Vegas, but they only provide diapers up to 1-year-olds. Now, as
Oh,
most
boy.
of us know, kids are usually in diapers
Oh, yeah.
after that first year, and that's a need in itself. Most children spend the most time in size 3 diapers. It's the largest weight amount, and that's well beyond age 1.
Yep.
In addition to that, there's kids that are just big, and there's special needs children that often are in diapers longer, and so they need more. There's a couple of groups that provide diapers, but they all have stipulations, which is necessary. I go through Catholic Charities because they put an ad in my church bulletin when I was massively pregnant with my first child. I was past my due date. I was nothing but hormones, and I just started ugly crying in the middle of Mass. And my husband and my sister said, "We will do whatever you want, just please stop crying in the middle of church."
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this started. So then I went to my women's group, and again, because I was super pregnant, started sobbing, and they all said, "Okay, we'll donate." And it kind of expanded from there, and I love that because it was just one vulnerable pregnant woman 8 years ago, and now we can help all kinds of vulnerable pregnant women.
That is amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a testament to the power of the people. Just one person that decides to make a change can really have an effect, and I think you are definitely proof of that.
Thank you.
And I know you're not, a one-person army. There's a lot of people that are a part of it.
Support, and
Right.
So
it's
could
grown
you
every year.
could you talk a little bit about your church group and some of the great stuff that you guys do and all the help that
Sure.
they provide?
So I go to Our Lady of Las Vegas Catholic Church. I'm in the women's group. I have been for 10 years or so. It's expanded a lot over the last few years to include a lot of women. We have several projects that we do throughout the year. We do Easter baskets for the migrant program at Catholic Charities.
Nice.
We do Christmas stockings for Title I students at CCSD. We have an angel tree, which is a really big undertaking, and they do a really fabulous job. We're one of the few angel trees that actually helps older adults as well.
No.
Oh, cool.
So like Stella Fleming Towers, a couple places. It's not just children.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then this diaper drive, which started 8 years ago, and it's expanded every year, and it's become one of our kind of trademark functions that we do.
That's awesome.
Now, I know personally that you're boots on the ground also with helping folks who need food, who
Yes.
are out there in the streets.
Yeah, I subscribe to the Dorothy Day philosophy of helping mankind, and that's direct service to mankind. So there's wonderful organizations out there like Catholic Charities that do a ton in the community.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, I will never personally be able to swoop in and bring someone out of homelessness. I can't provide them with mental health care or physical health care. I can't provide them with a place to stay or job training, but I can absolutely make sure that they have food and water and kind words to get through to the next day when perhaps they'll have the courage to help themselves. I hate the concept that people have of like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and anyone in America, if they work hard, everything will be okay. It's kind of this polluted theory of the just world, where, you know, bad things only happen to bad people, and that's how they end up homeless, and that's simply not true. The leading cause of homelessness is actually chronic illness. You know, health problems are a big part of it. Mental health is a big part of it.
That's a large part of the community that we serve, for sure.
Addiction, which is also a mental health issue, can be part of it, but it's less a part of it than people seem to think.
Yeah.
They have this idea that every person on the street is a junkie, and that's just not true. There are wonderful people down there that just need their faith in humanity restored. That's really all it is. All day people avoid making eye contact with them. All day people pretend like they can't hear them when they're speaking. All day they're getting kicked out of places just where they want to go to the bathroom, where they want to be out of the heat or out of the cold. And they're excluded from society and treated like they're less than. You know, I'm obviously pro-life, but I prefer to think of myself as whole life, which means, you know, from the womb to the tomb, there is sanctity in all life.
Right.
And I believe that. And I think that obviously I want to protect the life of the unborn, but I want to protect the life of the migrant at the border who's being detained, and the life of, you know, the convict, and the life of everyone. And that includes the people that are struggling and living on the street. I think they get overlooked.
Oh, they do, and they do get demonized. There's been a shift from when I was younger, where the idea was, you know, you help your neighbor, you know, you help the people. And now it seems, like you said, it's that they don't pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They must have done something to deserve where they are, their station in life, and that we should be able to, you know, pass by them. And it's their, you know, that's what they get. It's what they deserve.
Yeah,
somehow.
I think that it is such a painful concept for us to accept that good people who've done no, you know, committed no crime, done no major wrong, could be suffering in life.
Yeah.
I think it's such a painful concept for us to accept that it's easier to believe that they deserve to be there.
Yeah.
We don't want to think that we're vulnerable.
Right.
We don't want to think that that could happen to us or someone we love.
And it provides them with an excuse. It's kind of like a lazy outlook on life. If you can just blame everybody, you know, well, it's his own fault he's out there, then it kind of frees you up from that feeling of maybe I should help. You know what I mean? So it's like a lazy way.
It pardons you of any responsibility.
There you go.
And
yeah.
I think that that's a sad place to live, where you're just looking for an excuse to not have to help.
Yeah.
I was raised one of 8 kids, and we were pretty poor. We got by, obviously. We weren't starving. We had a home. But it would have been completely unacceptable to think that just because we were kind of poor, just because we didn't have, you know, grand family vacations, we didn't have to help. You know, being poor and not hungry, being poor and not having a, you know, and still having a home is not the biggest tragedy in the world, and we could still help. And of course, that was the attitude that my parents had, is that, you know, you have to help your neighbor.
I'm glad to see you passing that down to your children as well. Like, I see these events that you do, you include your children in them, you know, whether it's packing goodie bags or, you know, that's a great thing too. I try to do that with my son when I take him out to Food Not Bombs, or, you know, whenever we get some donations, he'll help sort things, and just, I mean, he's only 3 years old, but
Sure.
you know, just so he understands that concept.
Yeah.
Very important.
I realized a couple years ago, when I was actually giving a speech at church for the Diaper Tribe, that my kids had never heard my speech. And I was like, oh man, I give this at 7 or 8 masses a weekend, and they've never heard it because, you know, that was, my husband kept them in the cry room that week because he had his hands full. And I thought, it's important to me that I'm reaching out into the community and doing good, but it's more important to me that they understand that they have to reach out into the community and do good. And if they don't see me do it, then they don't realize that that's a priority. So now, the last couple of years, I've made a point of bringing them to events, even though it's one more thing to juggle while I'm busy.
Yeah.
And it's second nature to them. I think my daughter was 3 when we were driving down the street, and she goes, Mom, what day is it? And I go, it's Thursday. And she goes, we feed the homeless on Mondays. I go, yeah. She goes, they're probably hungry again.
Yeah.
Boy.
We should do something. And I was like, oh.
That's awesome. Yeah.
This is what you want to hear for
if
sure.
there's nothing else I teach you, you've learned this one thing, you know.
It's not just them understanding that message, but also it has other implications as well. Like, say when the MORE team, we were talking about the MORE team earlier, when they go out with services with officers. So when passersby see them interacting with a homeless person,
some of the other
there's
groups too go out. You know, it's not just the MORE team. It's other social services go out flanked by police officers. But I know where you're going with this.
It perpetuates that negative stereotype that they're dangerous people. So I think it is important that when we go out, we bring our kids to kind of dispel that, you know, because that's just another negative stereotype that needs to be done with, that they're all, you know, dangerous people, and that, you know.
Well, they want to put them in a small box, and that's, you know, when you start viewing homelessness like that, it's easier to ignore them, avert your eyes, and not open your heart and show compassion. Like, you know, these people don't want to waste their compassion on these folks because they're not worthy of it somehow by being poor.
Yeah.
And it's tough for all of us. I mean, you know, we go out there and we have a lot of detractors when we serve. We have people screaming things at us, and they'll actually organize and tell us what we're doing is somehow wrong. You know, I don't have all the answers. You know, I wish I did. But, you know, like when I go out there, all I know is I could feed a belly. I could give somebody a bottle of water, and I get them through the next day.
Yep.
And I've seen transformations. I've seen redemption. You know, by giving people one more day so they can change their situation is all I can do. And I've seen it work. I've seen it work. I can't bypass family in a car or somebody sitting on the street and not want to help.
Yeah.
So I kind of always have an issue with these guys that come by and argue and, you know, try to force us out from doing a moral obligation that we have to our brothers and sisters out there.
It's absolutely a moral obligation, and not everyone can give in the way that we do, but everyone can give. You know, that's why I have my blog. I started because I have a lot of people in my life, or, you know, extended life, that my Facebook friends, whoever, that are able to give in ways that I'm not. I don't have any extra money, but they do. Maybe they don't have the time to give, or they're not comfortable going down there.
Yep.
I am.
Right.
You know, and that's why that's why I do my blog. That's why I post pictures of G Street on Facebook, because
Yep.
I've had family, I've had friends who have sent money to help pay for things.
Yep.
We've done sleeping bags and socks and coats and all kinds of stuff that are beyond my means
Yep.
Right.
to provide
And it's
to
Absolutely.
the community.
It's not just fundraising, but also I think when people are scrolling their news feeds and they see something positive like that, it's contagious. You know, it's kind of like when you're driving on the freeway and somebody lets you in, you know, then you let the next guy in. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Right.
it's contagious. If somebody's an asshole and cuts you off, then you're going to go and cut somebody out. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that those things are contagious, and
Yeah, I've had
it helps.
the Knights of Columbus at my church have started coming down to G Street twice a month, just because
That's
one
awesome.
of their daughters is my Facebook friend.
There you go.
You know, and
See? Yeah.
they can make a lot more food than I can, and they bring it down and they're happy to do it, and it changes their lives as well. And they tell me, like, coming down here is such a humbling experience, and I forget how much we have and how
Yeah.
much we can give.
I think that is a slippery slope too, though. Like, there are people out there that maybe make a sack lunch and then, you know, here's a sack lunch and like selfie, you know,
absolutely.
like
Right,
it's
yeah.
more about their ego than it is about helping
I
somebody.
call that
right?
they do the poverty porn. I call it.
There you go. Yeah, there. I believe
And-
that is a thing for sure.
Oh, it's
But-
absolutely a thing.
You know, but everybody serves a purpose. Like, you know, so this is how they get their needs met, but they still bring out a
It's still
sack lunch,
food.
and somebody
Yeah.
still gets fed. Is it
You
the
know.
best way?
No.
Probably
Is it
not.
the purest intention?
Yeah,
No.
Exactly.
I'm not.
You know, and
But-
I've left groups that I've served with for similar reasons, because they just don't have the spirit that I find on G Street, which is a lot of people who give regularly. It's not one-time volunteers. It's not I'm coming down for a selfie. It's people who are there most weeks, and people who are involved in other groups and other acts of kindness, and it's a contagious spirit. Father McShane's been down there for 20-some years.
Yeah.
The
Father
O- the
McShane
OG.
is-
The OG,
Yeah, could you-
the original giver.
Can you? Would you talk a little bit about?
Father McShane?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
please.
all
I
day.
think it's a pretty
I
cool
named
story.
a dish after him. It's called the Holy Mole.
Which the recipe is on her blog. So, where can they find your blog, real quick?
It's bakingittothestreets.com.
There you go.
Wow.
Father McShane has been, he was involved with Catholic Charities for a while. He also very much subscribes to the Dorothy Day theory that
I'm a
giving
big fan.
directly to mankind serves a special purpose. It not only helps you to be involved with the community, but it helps the community feel like community. You know, it makes them feel like someone is reaching out to them as well. So he actually kind of pushed me towards that theory. So Father McShane is an old family friend. I actually went down to G Street first time about 4 years ago, and I had no idea he went down there. Somebody had just suggested I go down and help feed, and I did, and he spotted me from like 50 feet away, and he's almost 80, and he goes, "You're a Murphy girl," and I was like, "Oh my God, is that Father McShane?" He's one of the first people I met in Las Vegas. He was at my sister's house when my brother-in-law picked us up off the Greyhound and drove us over. And he baptized my niece and nephew, and
Nice.
he's a wonderful human being. But what happened is, not everyone is as fond of direct giving as he is. So he was removed from Catholic Charities, and he was sent to a parish in Ely, Sacred Heart. It's a wonderful parish. If you ever have a chance, go out there. Not during winter.
For sure.
That was my mistake. But he got sent out to Ely, where there's not a huge homeless problem, and he would be uninvolved. But he drives down every week. So they couldn't quite stop him. He drives down I believe it's Sunday night after Mass. He comes down. He stays at a rectory overnight. He does a Bible lesson group, and then he comes down Monday night. And his parish in Ely is very supportive. They send gift cards and bus passes and
That's
socks and all
awesome.
kinds of stuff. He's a wonderful man, and he.
There's quite a history here in Vegas, for sure.
He he's one of the most gentle humans I've ever met. And it's impossible to be around him without feeling more faith in humanity. Like, he's a very gentle soul, and he just genuinely wants to help people. And there's no politics behind it, and there's no motivation behind it beyond he wants to help. You know, and he goes down there, and nobody serves until he blesses the food. And so he pulls up in his little compact car, and it's usually full of socks or something. And he gets out, and he's this entourage of people that just swarm him. And you try to wave over the groups of people if you can. And he walks from that one end of the line to the other, and he says a blessing. And then the food line starts, but people just, you know, are constantly around him and asking for blessings and asking for prayers and asking for, you know, just support from him. And he gives it to everyone unconditionally. And he prays for everyone, and he tells everyone he loves them. And he truly does. He's a wonderful person, and he's inspired so many people. If I ever know anyone that gets canonized, I'm pretty sure it's going to be him. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
He started 20-some years ago passing out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of his trunk. And it just spiraled from there.
Yeah, since a simple act of, you know, that most of us can do. You know, that's how I originally started too, was like peanut butter and jelly, something on a fixed income that I knew I can do. And, you know, good things grow out of small.
It does.
Sometimes.
You know, many hands make light work. And that's that goes back to the whole social media aspect is, you know, I'll post on there when I need bottled water, when I need a bigger cooler to put it in, when I need, you know, some component of the sack lunch I'm making, or I've posted on there before for bananas. Like, if anyone has any brown bananas, I make really good muffins, please let me know.
There you go.
And it works, and sometimes they're like, come pick up these bananas, they're stinking at my house. And you go pick up the bananas, and you make 1,000 muffins over the course of the month, and, you know, it's beautiful because they get to be part of that. And by making someone else part of, you know, you're really giving them a gift.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, we don't necessarily have the funds, or they might not have the time, but, you know, with our powers combined, we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody's an integral component to what we do, you know, with Food Not Bombs. You know, people are like, oh, thank you. And, you know, I get thanked a lot. And I really don't do much. And I couldn't do anything if it wasn't for the people who help and donate and support. You know, it's them. It's just that they see me because I'm the one that serves.
Sure.
But you know, I do that one little bit of service, but there's guys out there, you know, who are spending hours and spending a lot of resources in order to get us what we need.
Yeah.
And those are the unsung
And that's
heroes.
their gift to contribute.
Yeah.
You know, we each, I recently taught my daughter This Little Light of Mine song, and I had to explain it to her, and I was like, you know, we all have a gift, and no matter how trivial it seems, we can use it for the greater good.
Yeah.
You know, with the diaper drive, it's grown into something that's much larger than I ever considered it would. And it's not because I have any particular talent at collecting diapers. I'm not gifted in any particular way that would help me. But my priest said one day that he thinks it works because I really believe in it. You know, it's not my job. I'm not going there because I'm obligated to. I go there because I really believe it, and I do think we can end diaper insecurity in southern Nevada. I think it's a matter of time, and that's my light, is that I'm a true believer in this cause, and that helps. But it takes a lot of lights to make it work.
Yeah.
But first you have to figure out what yours is, you know. And I'm teaching my daughter, and I bring her down there with me every week. My older son, you know, is very busy, so he doesn't get to go. And my younger one's a little too wild still, but my daughter always comes with me. And people are excited to see her, and she knows people's names, and they know her name, and people bring her little presents, and they're so happy to bring her presents, and she's so happy to get them, and she lights up, and it's like they've been carrying around that candy bar for a week,
Right.
to give to her.
Yeah.
And it creates this bond, and then they're excited to come down, and then she's excited to come down, and it really bonds the community together.
It does, and I talk about, or I've talked about it before, that there's a blessing at both ends.
Mm-hmm.
There's a blessing in giving, but there's also a blessing in receiving gifts that you get, because when you're receiving something, that other person now is elevated. They feel good, and for me the blessings are equal, giving and receiving. So that's kind of a beautiful thing.
I think that we both get something from going down there.
Yeah.
Me from serving, and them from being served, because the tables are turned so regularly. I come from a place of privilege in many ways. Like I said, I've got this like small white girl privilege that I didn't do anything to earn, but there it is. And so I'm used to having people offer to help, but the person I'm helping isn't. They're not used to having anyone consider their feelings or their situation or their hunger. And so for them to feel like they're being served, and for me to be humble to be able to do it, is really a blessing. You're absolutely right. I think that there's a lot of people like me in Las Vegas that do what they can. I think we have a very vibrant community in a lot of ways, and I love this city, and I love the people in it, and we have a homelessness problem, but we can solve it. I don't know how yet,
Right.
but we will absolutely take the steps we need to until we can figure that out.
And we keep working towards that end. You're absolutely right. We serve in the Hunt Ridge Park area at the moment, and our park was closed for construction or whatever, and
Beautification.
and it will be open soon, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because some of our neighbors, and I don't know if it's through gentrification or really not as open and compassionate to the folks in our community.
And the irony,
So-
of course, is that they're choosing to buy in a historic neighborhood. They actually do have that privilege. Whereas the people who are staying in the park have no other option.
No.
They do
Right.
not have that privilege.
And
And yet these people who have this ability to live in anywhere they want in town feel wrong.
wrong. Yeah. So,
We were talking about this the other day, Ron, me and you, and you brought up how it's a way that it's structured. So it's gentrification, but also there's a Savers right there. There's a 99-cent store right there.
there's a check
There's
cashing place.
like
There's
it's
really low cost food, like there's Burger Kings, and there's inexpensive
Thing-
cargo food that you won't find in Summerlin or in the
Exactly.
Highlands or in these other neighborhoods.
But they like to
It's-
blame Food Not Bombs for sharing a meal. That's why 3 meals a week is why there's people in that park. You know what I mean? It's all
Yeah.
our fault.
We had a similar issue. I went to a meeting with the West Side Coalition to actually kind of defend ourselves. Me and a lot of the other people who serve there regularly went. My friend Trudy, my friend Chris, my friend Shauna, we all went down to talk about it with them. But the question they posed to us, and I'm glad that they asked it, because I think sometimes they're so, people are so roundabout, they don't ask direct questions. But they said, why the F Street Bridge? Why are they in our community? How are they getting from losing all their money at the Tropicana to there? And I was like, here's the problem. That's not what's happening. These are chronically homeless people. They spend more of their life on the street than not. So we have to dispel that illusion that people have that they're just down on their luck. But also because the mayor leaves them alone.
Right.
Mayor doesn't care about F Street Bridge. And if there's 1,000 homeless people under it suffering, then, oh well, at least it's not in one of the neighborhoods she does care about. And I think that's your problem, is...
Well, you know, for our neighborhood, I mean, one of the reasons, one of the main reasons that homeless people will congregate in a certain area is because they have ties to that area. They'll have family that live in that area. And I find that to be true when you ask, you know, because when I first heard that statistic, I was like, oh, you know, I always thought it was just availability, like, and then I started asking, they're like, no, my aunt lives here, or my mom used to live here, or so they do have ties to the area. So these people, you know, are not just coming from everywhere and coming into situating into a certain area. There is connection there.
I think there is some truth to their argument, not as it relates to Circle Park, but people do flock to resources, right? So like the Four Master area, there's Catholic Charities, there's the Courtyard, there's Salvation Army, everything's right there, the Rescue Mission. So that's why there's a lot down there.
Right, but these people you have kind of pushed and directed down there. You know, they're not like, you know, left to their own devices. Like, where would they kind of...
Well, they're chased there, ultimately.
Right.
And the same reason they're under the F Street Bridge is, you know...
To try to make it out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly, because, you know, gentrification is happening in so many places. And not just that, but people are... The Goodmans have not been the biggest... I should say Oscar has not been the biggest supporter of homelessness.
No.
He suggested that we intern homeless people at a prison in Jean.
I remember that.
He's not a fan, and in particular, he wanted to get them out of the 100 area. But you know, they're under the F Street Bridge, and we've gotten hassled as well. Like, well, they're coming to you. No, we're going to them.
Exactly.
You know, we're going where hungry people are.
Exactly.
If they were coming to me, they'd be walking out to Rainbow. You know, I'm not picking this spot at random and saying, come sleep here. I'm going there because that's where they are. And that's why Father McShane went there, because that's where the hungry people were.
Well,
and he shares there, once a week, you're saying, and you maybe once a week, something
Every
like
Monday.
that.
Actually, there's right on that spot, which is a very historical spot. I don't know if you know this, but it's the site of the original Clark Township for Las Vegas.
I wasn't aware of that.
It's right there. And so there's kind of a little irony that the spot that started Vegas is where all these people stay. But there's several groups that go there now on G Street. The Catholic Worker goes there 3 times a week, I think. There's a Lutheran group that goes there, I believe, on Tuesday mornings. But again, like, it's silly to believe that we're all going there coincidentally. Like, no, that's where they are.
Right, we seek them out. They don't seek us out.
If they had the ability, they would, I'm sure, but they don't.
Well, that's one of the issues that I have with all along Four Master, and you know, tell them to go there. Well, you know, if you're older, or if you're disabled, or if you don't have a bus pass or cash to get, you know, on that bus, there's no way. And conversely, there's no way that they're coming to Hunt Ridge Park, where we serve. They don't have the means to get there. They're already here.
Exactly.
Well, and they're not exactly welcomed on public transportation or
so
anywhere for that matter. They're not very welcomed. So.
And we don't have a bus that we travel around.
It would be great though.
And bring one of these days.
Amazing. My mom lives in Iowa. She's 76. She's like, you should just get a bus. Go pick them up.
Yep.
I'm like, I know, Mom.
Eventually.
I wish, right? If I could, I'd get a food truck.
Yeah, canteen.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Now, I know one of the, one of the services has a canteen truck. I've seen it at Hunt Ridge Park once, and all they had was water. So, and it looked like a full, like, functioning canteen truck. I mean, it was a full kitchen.
Well, I know
not sure why.
Roz from Vegas Roots has the veggie buck truck too, and she goes down to the Huntridge area sometimes, where she sets up basically a mini farmer's market, and all the produce is inexpensive, and that's really neat. That's another benefit to being in that area.
That would be. Now, do you know where she sets up over there, or the
I don't.
days of the
You
week?
can
We
go
should look
onto
it
her
up.
website, Vegas
Yeah.
Roots.
Yeah, I've known Raza a while.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of. They go to, I know, senior housing, and set up there as well, so that people that can't venture out into the community still have access to fruit and vegetables. So.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I always try to mention. When we go out and serve, we don't have any requirements. And not everybody that we serve is homeless.
No.
But there are people who are living in houses who have to make a choice with the limited funds that they have. Do they pick up their medication? Do they pay their electric bill? Or do they buy groceries, buy medicine, So it's much deeper than people realize. The food insecurity
It's bad.
in this country and, in our neighborhoods.
Here locally, there is no zip code that does not suffer from food insecurity. There's no zip code where it wasn't at least close to 10%. And obviously in the center of the city, it's virtually a food desert. Access is difficult and it's expensive. Spending your money, and we have the same issue with our diaper drive, is that when you don't have as much money and you have to go buy diapers at Walgreens or whatever's close by, they're more expensive. You get less, and then you have less money to spend on them in the future.
Yeah.
And it's the same for food and diapers. It's this kind of terrible cycle. I have a little money,
Right.
but I can't go to Sam's Club with it.
I think the bigger picture is the cost of necessities is constantly going up. Inflation's going up, taxes are going up, but wages are remaining stagnant, and this has been for decades. The prices of gas, food, gas is more up and down, but food, energy,
Rents.
rent's the main
Rent's
correlation
bad,
with
unbelievable.
yeah. So there's bigger economic factors at play here that people that try to blame us for what we do, and we're the cause of it, they choose to ignore those factors.
Absolutely.
What was really telling was during the government shutdown, we had federal workers who were on the verge of losing their houses and their apartments. And federal workers are paid a pretty fair wage.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of people. They were sitting pretty, and still within a month, they were in the same situation.
Yeah.
From a month's lack of pay, of being out of a house and standing and receiving what we serve.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of Americans are very close to that edge, and they spend their whole lives there. That's part of why it's so important to give when we can, because you never know when you're going to be on the other side of that plate.
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, a woman said the same thing. I used to come out here and share, and she was in tears, and she's like, "Yeah, now I'm here," So that's a reality that people choose to ignore, or I don't see how you could have that homeless hater mentality when you yourself are one medical emergency or one, everybody. The majority of Americans don't have $500 to $1,000 in their saving account. Most people that have a job, are lucky enough to have a job, are living paycheck to paycheck and making those tough decisions you're talking about. So it's people really need a wake up call and just remember how important it is, like you said, to help while you can, for sure.
And the thing is, if people were unified and everybody can give what they can give, whether it be, money, product, time, a kind word, we really could go a long way in solving a lot of the issues that we have instead of the division. And that's what we try to do. I always talk about creating community, and that's kind of what I mean is looking out for our brothers and sisters. And we just started the pet food not bombs, where we bring out food and leashes and blankets, and we do some medical care for people with pets, because That's actually become part of our families, and we don't want to see them surrender.
Well, and sometimes, especially for people on the streets, they're the only companionship they have.
And safety.
You know, and they get their food. I mean, we have people who come down, and there are groups that hand out pet food when they can on G Street, but they give half their plate to their pet.
And that's how we started. We started noticing that they would come and they'd feed their pets first. And there's got to be a better way. So, you know,
you do what you can, and you find where the need is. That's where the diaper drive came in. That's where the pet food comes in.
Get in where you fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do what you can. You know, you don't have to push the boulder uphill by yourself.
Yep.
That's part of the community, and the community building is not just reaching out, but, you know, reaching side by side and hoping that you can get that help and accepting it when you can. That's hard to do sometimes.
That's the main thing that gets me with these, especially the people in the Huntridge Park area that are critical of Food Not Bombs. It's like, you're really good at bitching about a problem, but like, what are you doing to help? You know what I mean? Like, they'll complain about trash. Like, if we share food with somebody and they decide to throw the bowl on the ground, you know, we make a point after every time that we have a picnic, we clean up after ourselves and after everyone. But sure, it's entirely possible that we might miss something, and you know, they'll actually go to the park and take pictures to put up on their Facebook pages. It's like a negative propaganda they try to put out there to paint us in a bad light.
Of time to clean that up,
like,
as
just
take the pictures
like,
of
why
it.
don't you take your kids out to the park and have like a cleanup day, like have an action day, like get involved in helping and creating a solution instead of just.
That's what we did for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I took the kids because it was during the government shutdown, and if there was any benefit to that, it was that people considered taking more responsibility for their community themselves.
Absolutely.
So we went up to Mount Charleston and did a cleanup.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
There were several groups going up there to clean, though.
Yeah.
We had no problem finding garbage. It was plentiful. But, yeah, there were several groups going up every weekend to help out.
Yeah, that was like a nationwide thing. Libertarians, a lot of libertarian groups got together and cleaned up national parks and stuff. I know some local activists went up to Mount Charleston as well. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's the power in community building and being active in your community, is you see the power of the people, and you see how much better we can do as a people than the government. If you don't rely on the government for these types of things, if more people would step up to the plate.
Yeah.
Well, when we were recently discussing how to expand the diaper drive to get more people involved, and I had this debate with some friends about whether we should go to the legislature and demand that diapers are part of the SNAP program, or whether we do the work ourselves and try to get other churches involved. And ultimately, the decision to reach out into the community instead of into the government was, there's a Bible verse that I like that says, paraphrasing here, but you know, it's give what you've decided in your heart to give, not under compulsion, because God loves a cheerful giver. And I always use that as inspiration, because, you know, if we compel people to give through their taxes,
They get
then
resentful.
They do get resentful, but more importantly, we're not giving them the opportunity to give from their heart. And we're not giving them the opportunity to give consciously, which is something that a lot of people will do given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
I mean, it would solve the problem, which would be great, but we can still solve the problem. And we can do it with people knowingly giving instead of, you know, taking it out of their paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you know, back when my parents, before there was, you know, welfare, and that's the way it worked. It was neighbor helping neighbor. If you knew, you know, the breadwinner was sick, the neighbors would come over and make sure that the kids were fed, and you know, we
but
helped
Ron,
each other
that was back when people knew their neighbors' names. You know what I mean?
Well,
people nowadays go their whole life, they don't even know their neighbors'
Isn't that
names.
sad?
Yeah, that's
My
crazy.
neighbors are both garbage men. They're
See,
like best
at least
friends.
you know that.
And
That's
they
awesome.
cross the yard all the time, and they wave and say hi, and they go hang out at each other's houses. They're really nice guys. We haven't lived there very long, though.
Oh, that's true. I remember.
Yeah, we
Did the-
moved recently. We left our other neighbors who we love dearly. That was very hard to do. Now we can't yell at each other over the fence.
I remember when I moved into the house I'm living now, the guy was like going to check his mail, and he's like, looks at me and looks down, like, you know, just trying to get, I'm like, no, you're going to talk to me, buddy. We're going to meet
be
right
friends.
now. Yeah.
We're going to be friends.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
a wonderful
important.
friend.
Like,
Yeah.
you've got to have that tight-knit community, you know?
It helps a lot. When I got married, that'd be almost 10 years ago this year, and my parents lived in the same house. My mom still lives there that I was raised in, and you know, everyone's traveling home for the wedding, and there's like people everywhere. And one of our neighbors who works at a meat packing plant came over with like a dolly of meat. And he's like, I don't know what's going on, but it looks like something Catholic's happening up in here. He's like, I brought ribs, and just like leaves them on the porch for us. I was like,
Nice.
this is the community that I grew up in. Is they're like, oh, I made food. So, you know, of course, that's a community that I want to replicate for my children.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, it'd be wonderful if they knew that. And I think we're capable of that in Las Vegas. I think that we've gotten into bad habits, and I blame it entirely on garage doors, because we go right into our garage, close the door behind us, and we never like go into our front yard. We don't hang out in our front yard, and we have zero escaping mostly, so we don't have to, you know, we're not forced to meet each other mowing the lawn or anything.
That's true.
And
No,
so
I agree.
We don't meet each other organically, so you really have to make a point to meet them.
And Vegas is really a tough nut there because, you know, I'm from Brooklyn, so when you went to the store, you didn't need to drive. I mean, you walked to the corner store, which means you had to pass every street and every family,
Yeah.
going shopping or, you know, doing laundry or whatever, going to the local bar. I mean, you know, every community had a bar where you would sit, and, you know, you'd meet the mailman. I remember the mailman always coming in with his dog after his shift, you know, and the dog would be there. So you really got to know the folks in your neighborhood.
The
And
mailman had a dog.
Eh,
Did the dog like him?
yeah, it was funny. You know, he would still be in uniform, and you know, we'd come home and I guess go to his apartment and bring the dog over.
Sure.
And man, I remember those good days. And here, everything is so far, and you are locked in your car. And you're right; it's from car to garage to house, and we never do. And you know, there's an awful lot of walls here, too.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. We didn't have fences in my neighborhood.
No.
I mean, I think eventually like a chain link fence went up on the sides just so we know whose trees to chop down and not chop down. We didn't accidentally chop down our neighbors' trees, but yeah, we didn't have these giant cinder block walls. So
You know, it really separate us out. I mean, I still like my neighborhood. My neighborhood is still the houses.
yeah, your
There's
neighborhood's
not-
pretty cool.
No, you know, and I do know my neighbors, and I mean, I complain a lot about Hunt Ridge Park. We do have a lot of neighbors that support us, and they're very vocal supporters, which is kind of great. You know, they call out the guys that are acting a little, I don't know, grumpy or how they behave. So I do appreciate that.
How do your neighbors feel about your chickens?
You know what? They're fine. You know, I mean, we have a pretty large enclosure, and we're, you know, the neighbors across the street, one side and one side, and I don't put the chickens on the common wall. You know?
So, we've only had support with our chickens too. We haven't had any really terrible neighbors about that. But we moved, and I had 6 chickens, and there was this kind of weird structure on our property, and we just like cleaned it out and turned it into a giant chicken enclosure.
Nice.
And but I let them out to free range every day. 2 of them have disappeared. Like within a week of each other.
Like jumping the
A few
fence,
months
or-
ago. No, that's. I would think, right? Or like maybe a neighbor's dog jumped up. Who
Yeah,
knows?
but you would see, yeah.
Right, but there's no sign of the chickens. They just vanish. So either maybe a hawk or somebody in my neighborhood practices Santeria. I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying, because chickens, I mean,
Yeah.
are pretty feisty.
And
I
they
mean,
don't
they
go
do-
down without a fight, and they
Right.
leave feathers everywhere.
Everywhere.
And there's no sign of them. They just vanished.
That's
Maybe
crazy.
they
Somebody
were like
grabbed them.
reckoned or something. I don't know. But I'm down 2 chickens now. So
Yeah, that's sad.
yeah,
They
we
do get
searched the
attached.
neighborhood too, and our neighbors helped. They were looking over fences and all kinds of stuff.
So in the city, you have to have neighbors, like permission, right, to have chickens or something like that?
Technically, you're supposed to get like a form sign that says that it's okay.
Like if they complain,
Right,
then
they
you have to
could
get rid of
Yeah.
them. Like that
And
happened to
no
somebody we
roosters.
know.
You can't have any roosters.
You can't have any roosters.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, sharing eggs goes a long way.
It does. Sharing eggs goes a long way. Our neighbor on one side buys like a cow every year, and so he brings the stuff and trades it for eggs. We've got a
Nice.
little barter system going on.
Perfect. That's what we need, man. That's what we need to get back to. And you grow your own food too, right? You
I
got
mean,
some
I
veggies.
have a
and-
vegetable garden. Saying I grow my own food is probably
Yeah.
probably excessive, but I have a vegetable garden. Well, since
That's
I moved,
awesome.
we're actually putting in a new one, and there's the start of it, like a little cinder block wall. We're gonna put in steps, and I think we're gonna do like a multi-tier thing.
Oh, nice. I like
Yeah, and my old neighbor from my old neighborhood bought into like a seed co-op. And so she
Oh.
just texted me and was like, I bought you 50
Sweet.
packets of seed.
Score.
Nice.
And I was like, that's amazing.
There's a lot of heirloom seed
Yeah, there are.
trading groups
Yeah.
that out there. You get some really cool stuff.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. It's going to be like 3 times the size of my last garden, which was kind of excessive to begin with.
Nice.
That's our big deal, is that we need a big yard. That's always been our non-negotiable. We had a big yard before, and we looked at other houses, and we like looked at houses with pools and all kinds of stuff, and I was like, but what about the chickens?
Right.
You know, and what about my garden, and what about the coop, and what about our kids running around, and the trampoline and the
Yeah.
swing set? Like, a lot of our life happens in our backyard. So
And it's hard. I mean, most of the newer constructions, there
They've
isn't
got-
much of a
Tiny.
they've
backyard.
gotten nothing.
Yeah.
They've gotten nothing.
Yeah.
So we lucked out with our house, though, when we found it. We've got a huge backyard. There's a tree house already in it.
Oh,
And
nice.
I'm going to be honest, that was more of
Score.
a factor than I'd like to admit in purchasing the home. But yeah, so I have and I measured it, and it's like 41 feet, and our garden. And so I'm going to call it the back 40 because I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to grow all kinds of stuff. I'm really excited. The season is upon us.
Nice.
So when do you plant? Because like I want to get a little. I only have a small courtyard, but I wanted to get something going this year. Like when's the time to
Well, it
do it?
depends what you want to grow.
Yeah.
So I'll add you to my Facebook Las Vegas gardening group.
Do that.
They
do
are
that.
super knowledgeable. They've got all the information you could possibly need. I couldn't grow anything. I was so frustrated, and if my friend Courtney added me to this group, and now I'm like,
Just any questions, just hit them up.
Absolutely
Nice.
anything. And they have like pages of resources, and they have lists that are like, this month plant all
Yeah.
of this
Oh,
stuff.
perfect.
Start your seeds for this.
I need that,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, super,
Nice.
super cool. Yeah, I did tiny tomatoes, these Sweet 100 tomatoes.
Oh, I know those.
Last
yeah.
year, and they were massive. We went on vacation. We drove cross country. We were gone almost 3 weeks, and they were like these little plants when we left. And when we came back, it was like a forest. They had completely taken over, and
Nice.
there were like hundreds of them. My kid would just eat them right off the vines.
Nice.
And then we had eggplants, which are really fun. I've had to learn to cook with them though, because they grow so well here
Really?
that I'm like, I have to grow
All
them
right, I gotta
love
plant
because
those
I
then.
can
Yeah.
succeed at growing these. Yeah, so we had a lot. You'll notice if you look at my blog, we had a lot of eggplant tomato recipes in there last summer because I had to use them. So
Awesome. So definitely check out the blog. Speaking of Facebook groups, there's a Revolutionary. What is it?
Revolutionary Acts of Kindness.
There you
Yeah.
go. Another
That's another
good
great
Facebook group.
Yes.
Yep, please check that out.
Yeah, that's where I post a lot of the stuff the work that we do with the homeless in there, but also community outreach stuff. I actually started that group because of the peace rally I hosted at the Muslim mosque a few years ago, right after the Muslim ban started. I had gone down there one time before with signs that were just supportive. It was kind of an anti-protest, you know, things that like we love our Muslim community, we support you, you're welcome here. Before, and I had met someone there named Atar. His mom owns the mosque, and she's actually, I believe, or the first woman to own a mosque in the United States.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so he helped me set it up, and we had like 100 people show up. It was really great.
Very
and it was
cool.
just, it was just a lot of the community. I try to avoid specific political agendas as much as I can. I think that's why the group works, because we don't have any political associations. It's just about, if you want to do something nice in your community, post it or tell us how, or join one of our functions. Because I was so angry when they first started talking about the Muslim ban. I was just so angry, and I thought, this anger isn't helping me at all.
No, and there was an incident here with the local mosque. Was that the mosque that was
Different one.
But and I mean, I don't know why it shocked me, but I was like shocked and dismayed over that kind of behavior. I thought we might have been past that kind of stuff here, and I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the reason that I came up with the name Revolutionary Acts of Kindness was because I saw a quote that was, when you're taught or you're encouraged to hate, then any act of kindness is an act of revolution.
Right.
And that was kind of the concept behind it, was
Nice. Yeah.
like, I'm so angry about this, but instead of being angry and having all these hostile, feelings, I'm going to do something super nice and spread these nice feelings. And it was really nice. And we did have a couple people drive by honking and yelling and swearing, and we just sang, "This land is your land. This land is our land," to them. And I think it helped the community heal a little bit, I hope. And that's why I started the group. So I do post about some of the outreach stuff that we do in the community, and it's just it's a lot of people, and it's a good place to make nice friends.
Definitely.
Sure.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think we touched on most of what I wanted to talk about. Diaper drive and your church. So how can people donate, or if it's not just to the church, anything you've got going on, like what's the best way that people can get items to you, or what?
So our diaper drive is complete for the year, and they'll be set for about 7 months. So come the beginning of the school year, they will completely run out of diapers. When our truck arrived this year, they had been out for 5 months.
Wow.
And so if you'd like to participate, if you'd like to donate diapers, you can do so directly to Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada at the food bank. They have a baby room full of stuff that they give to expectant mothers and newborns and older children. They have clothes, they have furniture, they have formula. In addition to diapers, we do collect formula, food, and wipes, just
Right,
encouraging
baby stuff.
people to bring stuff. And the baby room, currently it's stocked. So the beginning of the school year is the best time to donate now, and you can just bring your donations right to the campus. Or if you'd want to host a diaper drive or something like that, you can contact Catholic Charities, and they will come pick up whatever you collect.
Nice.
And you said number 3 diapers.
Yeah,
are
size
30
3
pound.
are the biggest need, size 3 or above. Because they're not in newborn diapers very long. My kids didn't even leave the hospital in newborn diapers.
Right.
They were big babies. Size 1 and 2 don't last very long. They're only up to like 15 pounds or
Yeah.
something. So size 3 and up are very needed.
For
So,
sure. Now, did any other diaper services offer services at all, or is that something you didn't?
The cloth diapers?
Yeah.
So the issue with cloth diapers is that it's actually illegal in the state of Nevada to wash cloth diapers in public facilities. So if you have an apartment with shared laundry facilities, you can't wash soiled diapers in them. It'd be like washing bloody clothes in them.
Yeah, is that something new? I didn't realize that because
Yeah,
in my
I mean, it's, of course, how do they enforce that? But you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to wash cloth diapers in any shared facility.
I mean, my son, when he was born, we started with cloth diapers, and I had no
Yeah, I mean,
idea.
why would
Yeah,
anyone
like,
know that?
Or think of that. Yeah.
So that's a really common
Oh,
question
no.
people ask about cloth
They're
diapers.
coming to get me.
Not for that. Not for that.
Statute of limitations here.
Yeah.
Right, I hope.
But you're not supposed to wash them in public facilities, so cloth diapers a lot of times aren't an option. Actually, it's super sad story, but the first time that we donated, the Monsignor who operated Catholic Charities at the time showed up at the church the next weekend to thank us, because when the truck arrived, there were women there that had their babies in these gas station paper towels wrapped in plastic bags.
Oh man.
Because they
inventive.
just didn't have anything to put them in, and they were just waiting there, hoping for a diaper donation, hearing, oh, the church is sending these diapers, I hope they get here soon.
Man.
Yeah, and that's probably the worst story about diaper need that you guys have heard, but trust me, it's not even close to the worst story that I've heard about diaper need. I will spare you the details because you don't want to cry all night, but yeah,
I can imagine.
It's rough, you know. You need those disposable diapers unless you have your own washer and dryer, and most people living, you know,
Right, in apartments.
yeah, or just with the need may not even have a home, let alone their own washer and dryer.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, oof.
And they get a lot of the places that provide diapers, you can only get like 50 diapers a month or whatever. A newborn you have to change every 2 hours.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's like 2.5 days worth of diapers.
That's true.
Or
And
4
I
days
changed a lot
worth
of
diapers still.
diapers.
Yeah, they go through a lot. It's like 3,000 in their first year was the statistic that I read.
And I never thought about it. I've changed a heck of a lot of diapers.
Yeah, I have 3 kids, man.
I have one.
That's
Like,
all I
it's like
did
9,000.
for like 5 years was change diapers.
You get quick at it, though. I was really quick.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the need is great, and you can donate to Catholic Charities directly. They're happy to take any donations, even if the package has been opened. As long as they're clean diapers, they will take them.
Nice.
Good stuff. I think we can transition into the police news stories. Did you want to stick around for that, Katie?
I would love to, but I gotta go get my rotten kids.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you so much
thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much
That was
for-
awesome.
Thank
Let
you
me
so
play
much
this
for having
clip
me.
real quick.
Good evening. We're doing something unusual tonight, bringing you a report on police violence that took place in the city of Glendale in 2017. You will see it through the body camera of an officer who has been disciplined for significant abuse of the use of force. You will witness the entire event.
The story is uncomfortable to watch. If you have young children in the room, or if you don't want to see violence in a real-life situation, now would be a good time for you to leave this program. So why are we airing this story? Because the Valley, like many communities around the nation, is dealing with escalating incidents of violence by police officers and violence directed at police officers. Rarely do we see the entirety of what is occurring.
Tonight, ABC 15 investigator Dave Biskobing brings you a story you'll see for the first time and only on ABC 15.
In the parking lot of this Motel 6 in Glendale, police pull in.
How y'all doing?
And approach this car.
You guys staying here? I'm just not yet. I'm about to get room.
The passenger is Johnny Wheatcroft. He's in the front with another man. In the backseat, you can see his 11-year-old son, his 6-year-old, and their mother.
You guys got your IDs on you real quick. All of you. Hey, when you turn in here, man, just make sure you throw your turn signal on for us. Yeah, that's all it is. Nobody has their ID on them? No. Anything with your name on it? Yeah, just grab it out real quick. Nothing in the car there shouldn't be, right? Anybody? Nothing?
It's July 27, 2017. These officers are part of a special unit assigned to high-crime areas. This is a reverse angle from the other officer's body camera. You're looking at Officer Matthew Schneider.
This is brutal,
You
man.
can just step out and hang out right there.
Remember that name, because things with Schneider are about to escalate quickly.
Well, just hang on a minute, okay? Don't reach in your bag, man.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You said you don't have no ID. I don't want you reaching in there. What's your name?
Why am I even doing that?
Well, you don't have ID, and then we made a. Yeah, if you're a passenger in a vehicle, you need to have your
Why is that? I have an ID. I don't have to give it to you. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, well, I could take you down to the station and fingerprint you. Because we made a traffic stop on the vehicle, brother. That's it.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not doing nothing. I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm just here trying to help.
Listen, we could do this one of two ways.
Okay, relax for a minute, please.
No, I'm gonna relax. Listen to me. We're gonna.
I don't have
don't.
nothing.
Okay, I don't want you stuffing anything down in between the seat like you're doing. Relax. Keep your foot in there.
Okay, stop, please. I didn't do anything wrong.
Here's the deal. You tense up. I'm gonna listen to me. Listen to me.
I understand.
Listen to me. Relax your arm, okay?
Okay.
Don't start. Listen. A couple of things. One, okay, you don't have no ID on you, okay? I'm trying to do this as easy as we can. You already done stuff something down in your backpack and you stuffed something down in your seat.
He's a passenger.
Okay? Are you gonna fight or not?
So they should know better.
We're gonna do this.
Okay, I just watched you. No, you didn't, sir.
Let's pause for a quick second. Notice here, the officer has been grabbing Wheatcroft's arm for the past 34 seconds. That's kept the seatbelt from sliding off. And that's going to be important.
Okay, listen. He's gonna fight, dude.
No, I'm not, bro. Ow, please stop. I'm not fighting.
Relax.
Okay, babe, I'm not.
Don't pull away. Hey, get your
I'm not,
taser
bro.
out.
I'm not, bro. I'm not.
You are.
I'm not. I promise you that.
You got a taser on you right now?
I'm not doing nothing, man. I'm not doing nothing, bro.
Tell you right now, you're gonna continue.
Ow, man, what the f is wrong with you?
Relax.
I am, dude. Ow, stop. I'm not shit. Ow. Stop.
And he's got his kids in the car.
Here's the extreme.
Stop doing that, please. Stop. Give me your
It's one of the worst.
Okay. He's not gonna do nothing.
Middle of the complex, roll fire.
Doing this fast. Give me your This is stupid.
She's got to get you killed. Whoever hit me in the head.
Yeah.
No. I'm not doing nothing.
Get your hands up right now. Get your hands up right now. Mark, stay down.
I'm saying you hit him in the head with a
Hey, we need to get. Watch Mark. He's hurt.
I'm just sucking the shit. Stop looking.
You hit him in the head.
No, she didn't. She didn't mean to. I'm stuck
Face
in the
the
seatbelt.
car. Face the car.
I am stuck in the seatbelt, bro.
At this point, Wheatcroft is handcuffed, still tangled in the seatbelt, wrapped around his legs. It's the 11-year-old boy who has to untangle his father as officers try to drag him away.
Hey, get in front of the car right now. Get in front of the car. Come on. You're all right. Come on. You're all right, buddy. Come on.
You're not all right.
Officers claim the woman in the car hit an officer with a water bottle.
Mark's hurt.
Mark is hurt.
He
He's
got
hit with a
hit
water
by
bottle.
her. We need to get her in handcuffs right now.
She didn't mean to. Please don't take my
Look at that, dude.
No, watch. Yeah.
We need to play that back. If you missed it, with Wheatcroft handcuffed, another officer on his back, Schneider kicks him in the groin, then takes his left hand, pulls down Wheatcroft's shorts, and according to his lawsuit, tases him in the testicles from behind.
Man. Look, he's in cuffs, bro.
And if you missed it, the video shows another officer pushing this woman down, and then seconds later, yelling at her too.
Get him to the front of the car. Walk this way.
And you're about to see Officer Schneider threaten another tase. This time, with Wheatcroft on his side, Schneider places the taser at the crease of his hip, on his penis, according to the lawsuit.
Elbow! My elbow!
Okay, keep fighting. You're gonna get it again. You want it again? Shut your mouth! I'm done around with you.
Glendale arrested Wheatcroft and charged him with 2 counts of aggravated assault on a police officer.
What a joke.
In all, records show Wheatcroft was tased 11 times.
Shut up. Shut up. You're fine.
He's lucky to be alive, dude.
Listen to me.
I have pneumonia, but I really have chest pain. I'm having pain.
Okay,
I
well,
have
you
pneumonia.
shouldn't have been stupid then.
I've been trying.
Watch your hand.
Sorry, I have pneumonia.
He's got one right there.
Hey, Bill.
Right here on the
Right here.
I have pneumonia.
Right
And behind.
Ow!
And behind.
And behind. Relax. Stop being a big baby.
I have pneumonia, boss.
That's all for it.
I'm telling you I have pneumonia. Yeah, I think that is.
I can't breathe.
You're fine. You're talking.
I'm good.
You're talking. That makes you
Wheatcroft spent
fine.
months in jail because he couldn't afford bail.
Ow, my wrist!
His lawyers say he was finally released and all charges dropped once prosecutors saw the body camera video.
Yeah, dropped because he didn't do shit.
Exactly. He was the passenger.
Is this officer still on the force?
Steve, he is still on the force. He was suspended for 3 days,
Yep.
and he is on patrol as we speak. He wrote a ticket as
we
3 days ago.
Was he ever ordered, to our knowledge, into counseling or anything like this? It seems, and the reason I ask this question is it seems as if once he's in handcuffs and on the ground, pulling down his shorts, tasing him in the groin, that almost seems vengeful.
We haven't gotten his full personnel file yet, and it
Sounds
doesn't
sadistic.
indicate any counseling
Yeah,
or anything.
it's
But we
torture.
spoke to some of the top law enforcement misconduct experts across the country, and they say they've never seen anything like this. They called that one of the most sadistic things they've ever seen. They cannot believe he is still employed as an officer, and they can't believe that he wasn't prosecuted for what happened there.
So what is Glendale's response to all this?
Well,
What
we
are the
reached
police
out to
there
them this
saying?
morning for comment, right, about this lawsuit and to see what they had to say. They answered a few basic questions, but didn't give us any comment about the lawsuit. Instead, they released a media release to all media, didn't send it to us directly at first, with a long list of things that they claim happened in the video. And one of the things that they did say is that they're dedicated to remaining transparent. Now, as part of the transparency, they released just a 30-second video. I hope we have it here. I wonder if we can get that up on screen. This video is from a surveillance building, the Motel 6.
This is all they released
and
at
it shows
first.
just 30 seconds, and it shows no body camera video. And we know that there are dozens of minutes of video from those officers' body cameras. They had 4 or 5
Transparent, my
officers
ass.
there at one time.
Right.
What you're seeing here is the one officer fall back after they claim he was hit in the head with a bag with the water bottle by the woman. And then you can't see Mr. Wheatcroft because he's in between the door and the car, which isn't facing us, being tased 11 times. So this is what they released. None of that
As
officer's body
transparency.
cam video.
As
What else did the
transparency,
experts say
so.
about this? You flew to Los Angeles and
Yes.
talked to some of the top experts in this arena. What did they have to say?
Well, they said not a single tase in this incident was justified, not a single one. And they also say that this whole incident was handled wrong, that the officer did not tell the truth when he said he had to provide an ID for a traffic stop in which he wasn't the driver.
Correct.
And that when he went hands-on with him right away, there was no reason to do that because he was not resisting. So the whole incident, from beginning to end, was entirely wrong in their opinion.
I know that the police department and the attorney's office, Maricopa County Attorney's Office, looked into this. No charges recommended or filed for this officer?
None. In fact, I think they had 2 looks at this incident, and they declined to prosecute both times, which is pretty stunning, at least according to the expert's opinion. Now, I do want to talk about this statement that Glendale Police released today. It's pretty long. It's 2 full pages. But what it's stunning for is its omissions, and frankly, it's not truthful. And I can't really see this as any other than an attempt to mislead the public. And I'll give you some highlights here. First, they claim that Mr. Wheatcroft was resisting the officer's hold, and that's very telling because I got a hold of the department's internal affairs investigation into this officer, which they suspended him for 3 days. And they specifically write the subject was compliant and didn't resist. That's a quote. Now I'll read you another one.
And then they lie in the
Based on the
press release.
suspect's lack
Big
of
surprise.
resistance at the time of your use of force, the amount of force you used against the suspect was unreasonable and unnecessary. That is not in their statement. Neither is any information about his suspension or the fact that he was criminally investigated and referred to the county attorney's office. What also is missing is nothing about the seatbelt, him being tangled in it. And they also wrote this, that this is a quote, Mr. Wheatcroft was eventually able to be calmed down and he and the woman were taken into custody without further incident. Nothing about him pulling down Mr. Wheatcroft's pants, applying the taser to his testicles, as Mr. Wheatcroft claims, and you see.
In front of his
It's important to
kids as
note
well.
the date on this, too. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of the screen there, July 27th, 2017. So this was a year and a half ago.
Correct.
And it's only now coming to light. Do Glendale Police at all say why they haven't talked about this previously?
I think it's because they weren't questioned about it yet. So they talk about transparency, but this happened. It was significant. This is part of a federal lawsuit, as we told you about there. This isn't going to go away. And honestly, this response and the way they responded to this incident is probably only going to intensify the scrutiny.
Dave, I know you'll stay on top of it, and we're still looking to gather more information about this officer's background and get some more answers from Glendale Police. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, yeah, crazy. But shout out to those local news people who actually did a decent job covering that. Like, our local media doesn't do anything close to that. I mean, they just parrot police narratives and kiss ass the whole time. Yeah.
Holy cow, this is one of the most brutal videos I ever watched. The kid screaming for his dad, and then his mom. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. But, I mean, it's why we do what we do. This stuff has to be brought to light, and the more that people are aware of, and this isn't like an isolated incident.
No.
I mean, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here because you guys watch our show because you know that we highlight this.
Mm-hmm.
But this was, you know, on the news station. Hopefully more people will wake up and demand accountability. You know, this could have been you or any member of your family that this happened to. You know, and we're trying to stop that before it becomes one of your family members or you.
Yep. So Katie was just on. She brought up Tashi Brown Farmer. That was a case where, I mean, he wasn't tased to death, but he was tased 7 times and then choked to death. Yeah. But here's another just of how common this really is. This was another one. Cop charged for horrifically torturing restrained teen with taser walks free after mistrial. So this just came out the other day that this was, I believe, at least a year ago that this happened, but the trial went forward, and now
we have
there
monsters
will be
walking the street, and they're dressed in blue a lot of times.
There will be no repercussions for this. Gets off scot-free. Here's the video. Well, a clip of the video. It was a long video, but I found a shorter one.
Are you ready?
I mean, he's in a restraint chair in the holding facility.
Would you like to confirm? No, he won't. He will not.
There he goes.
That ticking is the taser.
Yeah. He's strapped down in a chair. 4 officers around him. There he goes again. Stop resisting.
They're so trained to say it even in the chair, they can't stop themselves from saying those words to try to get off.
Look at how long he's holding that taser for.
They're trying to murder him.
It's like an electric chair.
Yeah, they're trying to murder him.
Stop resisting. He couldn't resist if he wanted to. Jesus, man. Just
This
crazy.
is, you know, listen, people get mad when they say these are Gestapo tactic and Nazi, but you go back and you listen to the testimony of victims of, you know, that went through the Holocaust, their family members, and you see the testimony that they gave about the tortures that they did. I see a parallel right here, and also that the ones are getting off. These police officers are getting off and not being held accountable.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't want to be called a Nazi, then don't act like a Nazi. That's the gist of it.
Mm-hmm. This was another story that we talked about a couple weeks ago, but more and more is coming out. And I remember when this first happened, it was on all the major news stations because 4 or 5 officers were shot. I believe it was 4. But it was like perpetuating that story of, you know, there's a war against the police and police are being targeted, and it's just trying to, you know, build up support for police with this story. Like, here's these 2 dirtbags. We went in to execute a search warrant against these terrible drug dealers, and they shot 4 of our officers. They're in the hospital in
Right.
critical condition. And you know what I mean? Like, just painted them like terrible people and the officers as these heroes that we need to stand behind our officers, blah, blah, blah.
And
well, now
the truth comes out.
Now the truth comes out. Not only were they not heroin dealers, but the warrant that they got so that they could conduct this raid was based on one officer's information who lied. So one
Correct.
of the first officer through the door was the one who initiated this, and he said he got the drugs from an informant. All of the informants he had on file were interviewed, and they all said no. Like, yeah, we have done
Right.
controlled buys for this officer, but not on this day, never with these people involved. It was all a lie. So this guy the officer's been relieved of duty.
A little bit late, but
yeah. Hopefully, some charges come out of it. Nothing yet, but
and
they
these
didn't
people-
find.
Yeah, these people had no. I mean, the people. Well, if you don't want to have problems, please don't do anything illegal.
Yeah.
These folks, man, chosen at random.
Yeah.
Who
knows if it'll come out if this guy had a beef against, this guy or this, knew this woman. Who knows if that'll come out later.
Eventually, but it looks like they chose randomly. These people did nothing to initiate any sort of police activity.
No.
They just broke down the door.
Shot the dog. So they break down the door. The guy's got no police uniform on. He's in plain clothes. Breaks in, shoots the dog. So they grabbed their gun, the shotgun, and shot the officer. Then more plainclothes officers come in, and it's just a shootout. They end up killing this couple. This guy's a veteran. Killed the couple. 4 officers were shot. They didn't recover any black tar heroin like they were saying. They did find like a small amount of marijuana, a personal amount of marijuana.
Yeah.
And then they tried to say, unknown powder substance, like it was probably fucking detergent or something, or
Right,
who knows.
Which they can't tell the difference anyway.
No, it was like grams. It wasn't.
These
weren't drug dealers. Basically, all the neighbors came out in defense of them. Like, these are great people. They're not that type. And yeah.
And as far as they knew, there was a home invasion going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then the police try to say, there were all these guns in the house. Well, yeah, that's their Second Amendment right. Their right to, and their right to defend themselves. Good thing they did have some guns. I mean,
they would have.
If only they could have fought off their invaders, but they did their best, and just tragic. I mean, this is why we need to end the war on drugs, because of these no-knock raids. I mean, it's come out now supposedly that the Houston Police Department is saying that they're not going to conduct these no-knock raids. Dude, there's tens of thousands of no-knock raids conducted nationwide every day, every year.
Yep.
So I'll believe it when I see it, but
they're just trying to appease the public at the moment because of the outrage over something.
And
like
there should be more outrage than there is. Like,
Please
I remember when it first happened, there was outrage that these officers got shot, but now that the truth's come out that these were innocent people, there's no outrage, and it's disgusting. I mean, this is the police union president right here. I'm sure a lot of the viewers of this show are familiar with what this Joe Grimaldi guy said, but here's a quick clip.
I want to speak on behalf of the 5,200 brave men and women of the Houston Police Department and the other 800,000 police officers that are working these streets every single day, putting their lives on the line. We are sick and tired of having targets on our back.
Yeah, so are we.
We are sick and tired of having dirtbags trying to take our lives when all we're trying to do is protect this community and protect our families. Enough is enough. And if you're the ones that are out there spreading the rhetoric that police officers are the enemy, well, just know we've all got your number now. We're going to be keeping track of all of y'all, and we're going to make sure that we hold you accountable every time you stir the pot on our police officers. We've had enough, folks. We're out there doing our jobs every day, putting our lives on the line for our families. Enough is enough.
That's
now,
what we
please,
say.
Keep these officers in your prayers.
Yeah, sound like he was talking about his own officers there for a second.
Well, we feel the same way, which is, enough is enough, and we want to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
We're tired of this happening time and time and time again.
Yeah. When the story first broke, they tried to break it. Their narrative was that these were anti-police, these were people that hated authority and police, and it's just come out that it's not true.
Yeah, and even if they did hate the police and were anti-authority, if you're not breaking the law and you're not creating a problem,
exactly,
you could do that. You're not hurting anyone. They just can't come in because they don't like your rhetoric or they don't like your belief system and murder you.
Yeah,
that's not. I mean, obviously they did it, but
that whole
clear-thinking, free Americans don't accept this type of nonsense.
No, it's tyranny at its finest. And then here's a police union guy trying to justify it. I mean, it's murder. They murdered 2 innocent people. One of them was a veteran, killed their dog in an unjustified raid.
And makes threats against people
like us, that want to hold them
accountable for egregious behavior, murderous
Exactly.
behavior.
Yeah.
So,
So now he wants to infringe on our First Amendment right to, say the truth, to speak out and hold these people accountable for their actions, for stirring the pot on their officers.
We're supposed to remain silent while they're murdering innocent people.
Yeah, sorry.
They're teasing.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. This is, exactly. This is not what we're going to be doing. We're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to hold you guys accountable.
Now he's talking about tracking you, like we're going to be tracking you all.
Oh, they do anyway. They follow us on Facebook. I've heard it more than the ones from officers.
Yeah, they're familiar with our work. But
yeah. So.
I think I've spent enough time on that dirtbag. But here's another one. This is our pedo pig of the week here.
Yep.
Serial pedophile cop arrested on 80 counts of sexual abuse of children. 80 counts is just mind-boggling, man. But there is, we didn't do a show last week, so there's more stories than hours in the day.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Let me see if we can just scroll through here. Yeah, so we said that this was Houston Police Department Chief Art Azevedo. No-knock warrants are going to go away. Yeah, we'll see about that. We talked about that. We kind of touched on this, the 11-year-old student arrested and jailed for refusing to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It's like mandated patriotism. That's what they do in North Korea. You know what I mean? That's patriotism, something that's supposed to be earned, right? You're proud of your country because, and you pledge an oath. And first of all, Pledge of Allegiance, you can't make a pledge under coercion, or else it's not valid, right? So that's another thing, but...
No, and it was a child.
We talked about this. The 11-year-old who was selling hot chocolate. A little criminal. This was a story we covered a couple weeks back. Remember the Russian roulette incident?
Oh, yeah, that's gotten interesting, right?
Yeah, it turns out he was in love with her. They were planning on moving in together. So who knows what happened. Probably some kind of love triangle with the other officer involved.
Well, he claimed he was out of the room when he said that he didn't approve of them playing this game and stepped out of the room.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see where that goes. If we'll ever get to the bottom of that one.
Oh, and then the officer that lied, I guess, had previous allegations against him. The one from Houston who lied to get the search warrant.
Right. Yeah, these cops are dirty, and they've been dirty before. The people are aware, which is when we say ACAB. These police officers, their bad behavior don't come out of nowhere. There's usually prior allegations. They've been, people have called them out, and people are aware of what they do, and other officers are aware of what they do, but they refuse to police themselves. They refuse to get rid of those few bad apples that spoil the bunch. And they're complicit in everything that these officers do because they refuse to speak up and remove them. So they're all cops, part of that, of the ACAB.
Yeah. Yeah, your silence is complicity for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about most of all that. 63 people's convictions tossed in Chicago police scandal.
Holy cow, the Chicago police are in a class by themselves.
Yeah.
For real.
I mean, I'm glad that their convictions got overturned for these 63 people, but at the same time, you know, they were innocent. How much time did each one of these 63 people spend locked in a cage because of a dirty cop, you know?
And, yeah, you can never get your time back.
Exactly. Former Wise County deputy charged with sex crimes for the second time.
Yep.
Just,
they're
everywhere.
I don't know if anybody listening, like, you know, scroll through the page. Read these articles. I mean, as many as you could stomach.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I can only read a few before I can't take it. I mean, I need to take a break because it's mind-numbing and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
That we live in a country where this is so prevalent, and so few people are willing to speak up.
Yeah.
You know, it just shouldn't be like us guys here at ACAB Radio and the guys at Police to Police and Free Thought Project. It really takes the community to stand together. It's got to be all of us, you know, making our displeasure known.
Yeah.
That the system is not serving us. It's not justice. There's no justice here. And, you know, we're just being abused as it may be. I know there's a police war against the people, and, you know, we're all victims, and we're all going to be victims unless we stop it.
Yeah. So there was a good story in here. Let me see if I can find it. This definitely isn't it. 6 California officers fired shots at rapper who had been asleep in a car.
Right.
Killed him. Former police officer arrested for double murder.
Mm-hmm.
Solidarity with our comrades over in Colorado.
Yeah. Nice.
They are under attack. Food not bombs. Sharing at Liberty Park. They want them to get a permit. Like, ask the Crown for permission to hold a picnic and share food with your fellow humans. It's crazy. Wilmington police officer allegedly blackmailed. Raped woman in patrol car. I'm looking for it. There was a good story in here somewhere. Mistake crypto mining rig for a drug den.
That was funny. Yeah, I read that one.
Oh, so the Houston raid that we were just talking about, there was no body cameras because they were all in plain clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Washington County police officer arrested on child rape charges. Like I said, there's just way too many stories. And this is just because we skipped 1 week, so it's 2 weeks worth of stories. I mean, I'm passionate about police accountability. I love doing the show, but fuck, guys, like,
how much?
We don't need.
When is, you know, too much here with this?
Yeah, we don't need all this content to talk about, really. So that officer here, a local story. They just heard the closing arguments in the sexual assault trial of the officer that was standing guard outside of Stephen Paddock's room.
Oh, right.
That, you know, his brothers in blue helped look up the victim, the child victim of his sexual assaults, so that they could intimidate the victim into not coming forward. Well, they just heard the closing.
This is thin blue line, folks. This is what that thin blue line does. It protects the guilty. It doesn't serve any other purpose.
Oregon, another police officer arrested with sex crimes. Child rape charges. I mean, there's just so many.
Yeah.
14 more men framed by Chicago former cop. Fired Goochland deputy, guilty of sexual assault charges. Goochland.
We go through this.
This guy gets probation for stealing from the police union. Where's the good news? There was a story in here. I can't find it now. Local officer accidentally shoots canine partner. That's definitely not the good news.
Nope.
Nearly half of all police families experience domestic violence. And that's just the reported ones, because when you're in a family with a police officer, many don't come forward because of fear of retaliation, or, you know, you're going to go tell his buddies, and then what are his buddies going to do?
Right. And we know that's true. Those numbers are underreported.
Man. Yeah, I can't find the good story, but
there's so many bad ones.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about this one. Where is it? Where'd it go? God, there's so many. This story here, Metro working with ICE. We are going to be covering that not next week, but the week after. Next week we're going to have Eleanor Goldfield from Act Out. She's going to be coming on, so definitely stay tuned. Tune in next week.
That should be a very interesting show.
Yeah.
I think you guys will appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really glad she agreed to come on. That's going to be awesome. She does great work, so check out Act Out if you haven't yet. She also does a podcast with Lee Camp of Redacted Tonight on RT. It's called Common Censored. It's definitely a cool podcast.
And if you're wondering why there's only two of us on the podcast today, our third partner, Kelly, is out traveling for the week. So there's nothing wrong. He's not ill or anything else. He's just...
Yeah, he'll be back
next week. He's vacationing.
Yeah.
He's vacationing. He had enough, he said, because I need to take a break. I need to clear my head. And he's enjoying life. So...
yeah,
he'll be back. He should be back soon, actually, but not in time for the show.
Yeah. So we will all be here next week, joined by Eleanor Goldfield. But the following week, the first Tuesday of March, we got a very special show for you guys. We're going to record an interview day after tomorrow, actually, and get some good footage for you, edit it, and then we're going to have them come on and in person. So definitely
it's important information is going to be coming up. I mean, if you have to pick and choose, that's going to be super important. Make sure you tune in for this. Or, you could always save it for later. It's not that, you can't watch it at a later date. So.
And we also have confirmed Jason Bassler of the Free Thought Project, founder of Police the Police. He'll be coming on next month as well. So got some great guests lined up, guys. So tune in and help share this content out there. Help us get the message out there.
Right. If we overshare, they shut us down. Mm-hmm. But you guys could actually take our show and share it and keep sharing it. And that helps us a lot. We appreciate it.
I was actually able to share the show this week. I don't know if it actually posted into the groups, but it didn't block me, so hopefully it worked. Thank you all for tuning in. Any events? Food Not Bombs?
No, the usual Sunday at Mayfair Park. We'll be down there. And then, boy, it's been a long week. I don't think if there was anything else coming up.
There's the Junior Lopez public hearing.
Oh, that's right.
Coming up. I don't have the date
We'll
offhand, but yeah, definitely.
We'll post it, and then...
He was the one that said, don't shoot, but the officer said that he said, shoot me. He said, don't shoot me, according to his witnesses that were there.
Right. That was a tragic case. Another young life wasted.
Unbelievable.
Through police brutality and murder.
And, we saw what happened with Tashi Brown. So I don't have much faith in these public fact-finding deals, but hopefully some justice is served. So we'll keep you guys posted on that, and we'll leave you with some music.
Nice.
So catch you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night, everybody.
Evolution happening as we stand, feeling environment, oh yeah, doing what we can, 'cause I am you and you are me, we can solve all of these mysteries. 'Cause I am you and you are me, we can solve all of these mysteries.